welcome to our Paranormal World. My name is Rachel, and to give you a little history on me, I suffer with spastic paraplegia. I've also had several encounters with the paranormal from the age of 4. To start with, have any of you watching this had ever encountered things that just didn't seem to fit into what you term your reality? For example, say like you're in a room and you're on your own and you're just going about your business in your house. All of a sudden you get this, like someone's touching you on the shoulder, and you turn around and there's nobody there. Or have you ever been somewhere and you thought you heard someone call out your name? Have things occurred or occurrences happened that you just cannot explain? They just, have you seen things that just can't be for real? Things moving on their own, seeing people that were there one minute and not the next. Oh, the list goes on and on, including have you seen what we term as UFOs? Have you seen them and think, oh, that, it shouldn't be there, it doesn't fit in the sky, it's not an airplane and that? And basically, what I'm trying to get at is there's all these different types of phenomena that is occurring. People are photographing it, videotaping it, experiencing it, and we have yet to fully understand it. Now, in the 60s, although paranormal phenomena was discussed, it was often, lost at, and people who believed in it were looked upon as freaks. Mind you, there's some people who didn't really help those of us who've had experiences because they sort of went over to the extreme, which I mean by extreme is they may have had experiences, but they sort of pushed this phenomena onto people when people weren't ready, and that sort of started putting all of us who had experiences into a different picture. So we would be accused of being nutters, for lack of a better term, but we're not. We're quite sane. We're just like you and everybody else. It's just that we've had experiences that can't be explained rationally, and science can't always understand it. However, thanks to technology today, more and more phenomena is being captured, and more books have been written on the subject. And I've had a variety of experiences in one form or another. Like I said, since I was 4, including, where to start? I've seen apparitions, I've had UFO experiences, I've had an extortionate amount of phenomena in my life that I can't even begin to list. It would take ages to get it all down here, the phenomena I've encountered. So hopefully this series will, I'll be able to shed some light on some of my experiences and explain what they mean to me and how I've encountered them, and give you some books, tips on which good books to read, and that, and different things like that to help you understand, as well as I have learned to understand, what is happening. It's not an easy subject to discuss in the first instance, because a lot of people See, when you have a paranormal experience. People, really extremely religious people, think it's the work of the devil, which I'm not saying there isn't experiences out there that are extremely negative and would, like for a better term, be seen as demonic, but there's also the other side. I mean, people seeing angels and such like, but I have come across people, extremely religious people who seem to think that any paranormal experience is the work of the devil, and then I've come across some who accept paranormal experiences as an extension of our humanity and our connection with the Lord, which is the way I look at it. So it depends on where you're at in here as to how you perceive the paranormal. My husband, I would define him as a skeptic, but even he managed to get a photograph of the UFO, and you will never believe how he rationalized the photograph. He tried to say it was a spot on the windscreen of the car, which again would have been a bit difficult considering he was standing outside the vehicle, standing up, pointing the camera up, and he was nowhere inside the vehicle when he took the photograph. So that would have been a bit difficult, wouldn't it, if he's standing upright, taking the photograph and the object's outside. How could he take the photograph of the object inside? You can't be in two places at one time taking the same photograph of the same thing. It's impossible. But what I do is I analyze all my everything I capture. Although I'm a believer and experiencer and that, I always analyze before I put it out on YouTube or any other format on the internet. I will not put it on the World Web unless I am 100% certain that it is what I term as paranormal. That's the other reason I have books on paranormal, because what I deem as paranormal may not be classed as paranormal, not in the field of research. So in order for me to feel comfortable before I submit anything, I always have to double check. Not only is it paranormal to me, that it fits in the realm of paranormal across because they do have facilities where they educate people so they can get degrees in the world of paranormal phenomena. So I have to make sure that my experiences that I record, photograph, they fit in to that realm. If I'm not happy, if I don't feel that they're okay, if I know the experience is paranormal, but it doesn't come across, the evidence doesn't come across that good to support that it is paranormal, I won't submit it. And I know I've had a couple of stuff I've submitted, and people keep saying, oh, that's dust and stuff like that. Reason that, like, for example, I submitted a video of an orb going in front of my husband and my dog. And why I decided that was an orb was when I kept analyzing it over and over again, and it clearly had a round shape like an orb. Plus, prior to that video clip, I had been capturing several orbs in the same room, and I even caught one that was red. But I got to see that these orbs have distinct movement. And when the one that I photographed in front of my husband and dog, that actually moved directly up in front of the camera. Now, I didn't see it. Now, people are correct in assuming that it could have been dust, but see, dust doesn't go up. Not like this went. This went straight up in front of the lens. And the other reason I ruled out that it was dust was because the camera that I was using, the lens was clean, plus I'm used to seeing what dust looks like through, you know, when the sun reflects on it. You can tell dust. You can see it. I mean, the eyes can see it. But this was not moving like dust. This thing was moving, it seemed to move in a specific direction. Now, when I've seen dust, it seems to be coming like that, slowly, but it seems to be moving downwards. Or it just, depending on if the ions in it, it tends to stay static. You know, it depends on the ions in the room. But it doesn't go up. Dust does not travel up. It tends to fall down. That's why you get dust on your furniture, because it comes down. It doesn't go up. It comes down. So, you know, I've studied dust enough to know what dust looks like on film. And on another occasion, which I haven't submitted, it's on my other hard drive, which went down, but I managed to get it onto Google. I managed to capture a rod, which took me by complete surprise, because I wasn't, first of all, I didn't see it. My husband didn't see it, but the dog saw it. And because I didn't know what the dog was looking at. So when I played back the video clip, there it was. It was this rod coming down in front of her. I put that one on Google because it's quite a long, there wasn't enough memory to put it on YouTube. But anyway, this rod, it was, okay, it wasn't a big rod, but it was still a rod. But when I first looked at it, and, you know, on the computer screen, I thought it was an insect. But when I looked at it and slowed it, because I have this habit, I slow frames down and play them back very, very slowly and precisely. I look for specific movements. I tinker around with it to make sure that I can clearly, they're much more sensitive, and they obviously, they don't, I think it's been said they don't see in colors like we do. So therefore they can see these things straight away. And it just, you know, you have to consider that that there's got to be something happening, because other animals are very sensitive to these anomalies. But like I said, I see orbs and these rods as something intellectually driven, and well, with rods especially, I see them as another life form. Okay, but just because these life forms aren't in the encyclopedia or recognized, because we can't, they travel so fast that we can't capture one, and they're probably, even if we could capture one, they're probably so dense and so light that, you know, they're probably like, let me give you an example. There's this microscopic creature called a water bear, and they exist. And the reason they're called water bears, they have eyes, 2 eyes, they have like what appears to be whiskers, and their feet are like little claws, but they have, instead of 4, they have 6. And their scientific name is tardigrades. Okay, you can't see them on the surface. You have to have a microscope. Okay, on my other hard drive, I actually got some photographs of them. But they're very real. They live and feed on algae. They herd together. They breed. A very living organism. It's very much alive and is in the world around us. And although we don't see it, it's there. That's the way I think of rods and orbs. They're there. Just because we can't see them or capture them except on film. Okay, the same with tardigrades. You can only get them under a microscope. You can't just go out in the garden, pick one up and go like this in front of the camera and say, oh, here's a water bear. You can't do that. So microscopic, so minute, that you have to have special equipment to capture it. Same with orbs and rods. You have to have the right equipment in order to capture them. Now, some people think the evidence of these things is not enough, but then again, I mean, until microscopes were developed enough to capture tardigrades. I mean, no one knew they existed. And when you look at them under the microscope, they are such a fascinating microorganism because they look so mammalia-like, mammal, and their features that you often can't believe you're actually looking at a microorganism, because obviously when you bring them up on the camera, on the microscope camera, they are much larger than what they are in actuality. And the thing is, these creatures, they're very, very real and very diverse because there's several subspecies of them. And their bodies are actually made of chitin, which is what our nails are made of. But you couldn't even... Okay, let me give you an example. You can't see the end of this pen, can you? Can you see the tip of that pen? They're even smaller than that in life, so tiny that you need a very high-powered microscope to capture one. And then you have to know where to look for them. Because you have to be a hunter to find these things, because they're not. People don't know where to look, and if you know where to look, you can find them. Same with orbs, same with rods. If you know what you're looking for, if you know what you're doing, you're going to find it. Now, I was growing up, like I said, I had all these experiences growing up from the age of 4. I'm now 43. I didn't know how to categorize them, how to explain them. I just knew they were happening and they were real. And it was just much more easier for people to say, oh, it's your imagination. Oh, you can't be seeing. These things aren't really happening. You must be dreaming, or every excuse they could think of. Okay? Now, this room is our spare room. And this is a room where I have captured several EVPs. And on my other hard drive, I captured several orbs in this room. In our front room, I've captured EVPs. And this plant that we're in was built in the 1940s, just after the war. I did some research, and I found out that this property, at one stage, there was a hole that sat on this property, and this flat is roughly an area where the hall once stood. This is back 1600s, I think. Anyway, that went down, and cottages were built here, and after the cottages, after the war, the cottages obviously were bought down, and they put flats here. But I have had phenomena I've recorded. See, I don't even have to go far to record paranormal phenomena. It's in my house. It's around me. I've had paranormal phenomena in the place I lived in before. It's there. I accept it's part of reality. It's an extension of us, and we just have to live with it. We just got to acknowledge that there is more between heaven and earth. Okay? Basically, when I was growing up, there was no, I had no place to go to find the answers to what I was experiencing, and that's why I've started this program. And I'm hoping by introducing you to some books and that you could go and find yourself and read. I can give you a synopsis of some of these books that I've got in my library. It'll help you to better understand the subject as well, because it is not an easy subject to put into one. You got one category, but you got subcategories, right? And some things appear to be connected to other things. UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, and all that. They all seem to be, there seems to be some kind of interaction there. But you just can't really put your finger on one thing. I just think, hopefully with my program, I hate to have that one, I hope that we together will be able to come to some better understanding of this occurrence. And, you know, I would love to share your experiences on here. I haven't got any ink in my printer, so if you email me, I won't be able to print it off just yet. I need to save up and get some ink for my printer, which is quite expensive. My printer is. But I would like to hear from all of you. And like I said, I'll be sharing books in my library that might be helpful to those of you who are experiencing something and wanting to understand it better. But something I think that needs to be said is, okay, first of all, when you encounter something you don't understand, don't attack it head on, because, you know, how do I explain this? If you go head on into something that you don't understand, you're going to fall. You're going to fall flat on your face. Okay? You need to be able to be calm, react calmly when you have an experience. Now, one of my clips, you know, when that voice came over on the two-way, that did sort of put the wind at me, because I wasn't expecting it to come through the two-way. I was expecting to capture it on the recorder. So that did take me by surprise. But I have learned that the best way to deal with an encounter is to be calm about it. And, you know, when I've gotten really stressed, I've seen objects fly on their own, you know, and around the room, and things come off on their own. And that's because that's why I stay calm. If I get stressed out, things seem to have developed their own, developed a life of their own, and they do their own thing. So it doesn't pay for me to get stressed out. Especially when I get told off by one of my relatives, you know, pack it in. That's it. I'll just go ahead and share that one with you. It's quite funny, actually. What happened was, we went to see my aunt and my uncle, my husband and I. And where we lived before, you know, it's quite stressful there, because there was a lot of drugs and that, and irrational behavior being carried on by the people who were obviously involved with drugs. You know, you were half frightened to come out your door because you didn't know if they were beating each other up in the hallway, and you were worried about getting caught up in the crossfire. But anyway, we were sitting at my aunt's, and I happened to be looking over at her television. She had this little porcelain hedgehog on top, and I just happened to look at it, and at that time I was dreading going back home, you know. And I just looked at it, and I just turned my head like that, and this porcelain hedgehog bounced off her telly. Well, you think that would have been the one and only time it happened, but it didn't. Well, after that, she picked it up, put it back on the television. So we were talking that again, and I don't know why, I just kept looking at this little hedgehog, and as I turned my head again, just briefly, it jumped off the telly again. Well, obviously that time my aunt must have seen what happened, that I looked at it and turned my head, and it came off. So she sort of gave me a strange look, and then my husband decided, right, we're going home. Well, I don't know what happened. I got, on all three occasions, or on the first two occasions, I noticed before the object went, I had this funny sensation in my stomach. So on the third occasion, my husband said, all right, let's go. We gotta get home. So I looked one more time at the hedgehog, and did because I was thinking, oh God, here we go. I go back to that, you know, chaos. And as I did that, the hedgehog, literally, my aunt actually watched it. It jumped that high off the television, but it actually went like that, and then it went like that into the middle of the room. And she looked at me and she said, "Rachel, pack it in." I said, "Pack it in?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I figured it was you that was doing that." Well, apparently, when I was younger, strange things, phenomena like that used to happen when I'd get stressed. So that's why I've learned not to get stressed. But I have never been able to learn how to do it in a controlled situation. And it tends to be an uncontrolled ability that's based on my emotions. I can't seem to work out how to do it. I mean, I'm totally amazed by people who I've seen on YouTube that can use controlled telekinesis. Me, I can't do it controlled. It just happens when I'm frantic. But see, that is one of the things I'm on about, you know, which I hope to discuss further, is the phenomena of telekinesis, and hopefully, I'm hoping at some point learn how to control it, and then hopefully be able to share it with you. But at the minute, I just don't know. Obviously, it's something to do with my subconscious. My subconscious is more connected, and I can't bring it into my conscious mind. But obviously, when I'm stressed, you know, there's some kind of interaction there where my subconscious picks up on it. Because you have to. We are beings of energy, traveling in paces of matter. We are not. How can I put this? This is made up of molecules and atoms and chemicals and energy. Our physical mass is made up of many, many components, but our consciousness is made up of pure energy. We're beings of energy translated into matter, okay? When we die, we leave our physical essence behind, but we are still very much alive. And I'll explain, I'll go into that later, when I discuss NDEs. But, I'll leave this for you now. And next time, we will look at, like I said, this is the introduction, but our first episode will be looking at, okay, let's tell you what, we've just got started. We will discuss the phenomena of psychokinesis, telekinesis, and that. And, or rather, I'll mention it, you know, I'll bring up some information I've got on here and where to best go to look for, to strengthen your telekinetic abilities, because I have actually done a test, and I'll explain my results from that. And I'm hoping to hear from you. My website is linked to this program, so if you want to contact me through my website, please do, and I hopefully will be able to mention it next time on our next episode of our Paranormal World. Love, light, and peace.